Hello, and welcome to the Stellantis Tech and AI podcast. I'm your host, Dale Jewett, and we're here to help you navigate the future of cars and technology.
We're trying to look at the ever-evolving landscape of automotive enhancements, delving into cutting-edge topics that redefine the way that we drive. We hope you're interested in this as much as we are. And today, we're thrilled to have as our guest Yves Bonnefont, who is the Chief Software Officer for Stellantis. Yves, thank you very much for taking some time to join us today.
Hello, everyone. My pleasure to be with you on this podcast, Dale. That's a so fascinating topic. I can't wait to talk about it.
Awesome. Well, and I think it's great to point out that Stellantis, being a global automaker, while I sit here in Detroit, you're joining us from France, I believe.
Absolutely. Greetings from Paris.
Well, thank you. So let's dive right in and talk about software, since you're the Chief Software Officer. And it kind of leads me to my first question. In the history of Stellantis, you're the only Chief Software Officer we've had. And I'm really curious because I know you've worked with our CEO, Carlos Tavares, for several years now. What was his pitch to you to become the Chief Software Officer for our company?
Well, as we were considering to form Stellantis, Carlos reached out and asked me what was differentiating the new players we see coming into the industry, the Tesla, NIO of the world, versus what Stellantis would look like, and what should be of critical importance in the way we're going to be creating Stellantis with respect to that question. And so I spent extensive months of benchmarking with those guys and came up with the conclusion that the way of doing software was one of those critical differences, and that we needed to address that. And Carlos immediately embarked on the idea and the journey and asked me if I wanted to lead, and that got me fantastically excited.
That's interesting, and I got to be honest. As I was thinking about our conversation today, I guess I'm not sure that you would have been a person I would have thought as a Chief Software Officer. I mean, you're sort of in the mold of a car guy. You spent a number of years working in the Citroën brand. In fact, you were the man that launched the DS brand for Citroën, an excellent luxury brand that we don't see here in America, unfortunately, but does interesting things in Europe. You're a car guy. Why did you want to be in charge of software?
Well, many reasons. First of all, I'm a computer science engineer by training, so it's not like software is a stranger to me. And then I have spent during my career a lot of time working for both automotive and high tech, especially during my McKinsey days. And so then with the experience of launching DS as a brand for Stellantis, or at that time for XPSA, I think I learned a lot on the business, and we wanted to create the software initiative within Stellantis as a business unit, and not only as an engineering group. And I think my experience, cumulative experience of both being a computer science engineer, having learned tech and automotive for a number of years, and then finally a lot of business and marketing related leadership with the launch of DS, kind of put me in the sweet spot. And I have to admit also that I'm a bit of a tech addict, and I like tech. And so yeah, that was a great match.
Interesting. So if you're a tech addict, do you always have the latest mobile phone model with you? Are you that kind of a tech addict?
I have that kind of smartphone, yes, that excites me. But what excites me more is actually to learn about new tech. So I read a lot of scientific papers. For example, when Gen AI popped up, I went to the foundational paper of Gen AI called Attention is All You Need, which was written by a very famous Google engineer a few years ago now, because I like to understand the foundation, the scientific foundation of the modern technology, and that's what gets me excited, and understanding how you can apply it and deploy it at scale.
Excellent. So let's talk about software and automobiles. You know, today, if I think of software and automobiles, I primarily think of all the software that enables the magic of our internal combustion engines and the drivetrains. You know, cleaner emissions, more power, suspension attributes, and stuff like that. The software we're talking about, or the software you've been working on, really is kind of an evolution of that, wouldn't you say, from where we are today?
Absolutely. The software has been on cars for now many years. And in fact, when I launched the DS7 hybrid back in probably 2018 now, 2017, we realized that there were more lines of code into a DS7 hybrid than there was on a commercial airplane, which was kind of a blow to us. We had no idea about that, and we understood it. And I think software has been, ramping up in automotive, kind of in the back of the automotive engineers. And now we fully realize the power of software in automotive, to what extent it is shaping the vehicle, to what extent it allows you to build new capabilities in the vehicle in all fields. That includes safety, that includes, of course, media consumption, that includes connectivity, ease of use, all sorts of domains. And software has become so fundamental. And of course, now with software AI, AI is everywhere behind the computer vision that enables autonomous driving. AI is coming into cockpit with a recommendation engine, recommendation on your destination, recommendation on the media you may be interested to listen, recommendation engine on the HVAC setting you want for the car. So software is everywhere in the car. AI is coming at the car very quickly. And so it was time to completely re-engineer this approach and make sure that we kind of complement what we have historically been calling the electronic architecture of the car by what we now call the software and electronic architecture of the car, where we have very clear software layers, very well structured and organized, like the smartphone industry or the computer industry have now been doing for many years. So you have a layer of hardware, you have base software, you have operating systems, and then you treat many of the functions of the vehicle as applications, which is a different approach from, I would say, a electronic computing unit approach that has been the approach of the industry for 20 years.
That's interesting, because mobile phones have been around for a while. Why do you think now is the time that the mobility industry, the automotive industry, has decided to follow that model versus where we had been up to this point?
I think there are three main reasons. Number one is we realized that the features of the vehicle were completely software driven. And so it was time to think about how can I add software to my car that's going to be visible to the customer by providing new features along the lifetime of the vehicle, including upgrading the vehicle over its life cycle so that customers keep being excited about the freshness and the new features on their vehicle. So number one is with software, you can continuously upgrade your product. Number two is because there is so much software in the car, you need to organize it in a way that's the best practice in the software industry, which is, with those different software layers, the full software stack structure, as opposed to what has been, again, in the industry, an electronic approach for many years where, okay, you take a microcontroller, you put a little bit of code on it, and it runs a function like, I don't know, seat adjustment, seat heating, door module, or that kind of stuff. So look at the car transversally, and organize the software stack of the vehicle. It makes things much more efficient, much more simple to develop by just applying the best practices of the tech industry and the software industry in general to the automotive industry. And the third reason is that this is appealing to our customers. Our customers want to see their vehicle evolve over time, and so we want to make sure that we now switch from a feature-based approach to an application-based approach where we can deploy new application on our vehicle over time. And so 3 very powerful reasons for software to become central.
That third point I think is really interesting in terms of what customers want and what they desire. And I think a lot of that has been shaped by their experiences with mobile phones in the years leading up to this point. And certainly for us as Stellantis, as well as other people in the mobility space, we're also seeking for applications that customers find value in, value that they're willing to maybe pay some money for. What do you think customers are really interested in enough that they would actually pay some money for?
Well, there are many things. I'll give you a few examples around the world. Let me start with Latin America, where people are willing to pay for stolen vehicle recovery. And in Brazil, in the past year, we have been recovering more than 90% of the stolen vehicles with our connected technology. In North America, we have a lot of people listening to ad-free content in the form of satellite radio or other type of media streaming. And people are willing to pay for that because they want to enjoy their music without the burden of ads. In Europe, we have many use cases around fleet management and how you monitor the fleet you have on the road to make sure you optimize your maintenance, to make sure you understand the good behavior driving of your fleet, and all those things. So there are many different sets of applications that you can think about. Another one I would like to mention is usage-based insurance, where you say, okay, if I believe I'm a good driver, I'm happy to share some scoring of my driving with my insurance company so that they give me a better premium because that's a good deal for me. So there are many cases where people actually are excited by software. Now you have more automotive-related use cases, like, for example, we're working on adding horsepower, remotely adding horsepower to your engine by tuning the powertrain software of your engine, and that gets people excited. They're willing to pay for it. And that resonates, by the way, very well with the brands of Stellantis. As you know, we have 14 brands at Stellantis, and each brand has its own specificities and strengths. So if you think about my last example on horsepower, people at Dodge or Alfa Romeo would be really thrilled by this feature, while the Jeep guys, they will like some other features that we're rolling out right now, which we call Jeep Trail, which gives you off-road experience with off-road maps, off-road advices, and all that kind of things that make Jeep owners love the freedom offered by Jeep. So with software, we can also really resonate with what is the DNA of each of Stellantis brand and satisfy the customer expectation and passions in relation with the brands.
I like that idea that you can tailor my car for me, particularly based on the brand that I happen to be driving. I've heard our friends in propulsion systems sort of talk about the same way, how they can tailor their systems. Again, 14 brands. I think we're unique in Stellantis that we have 14 very distinct and iconic brands, and they all know exactly what they want, and there's not a whole lot of crossover between any of them, quite honestly, even the ones that we don't necessarily get in a particular region of the world. I'm curious, Yves, today, at least up to this point, and at least in my experience, much of the in-vehicle software app use comes a lot of times by pairing my mobile phone to the car. Do you think that will continue to be that way, or are we trying to use software in the vehicle so that you don't have to worry about the mobile phone?
Oh, you don't want you want to certainly to use the car without worrying about the mobile phone, because all sorts of things happen with the mobile phone. But you want the car and the mobile phone and even your home and any other device you have to work together. So if you think about use cases related to electric vehicles, which is a big strategic priority for Stellantis, you care about the full integration with the vehicle, because you want to understand the current actual energy consumption of the car to best route the EV, optimize the charging, and make sure you minimize the total travel time, including charging. So that requires deep integration with the vehicle, which the mobile phone is not capable of doing. Then if you think about, I want to carry over my music into the car, then you want to be able to log into your music streaming provider irrespective of the device. So if you have a Spotify account, you want to use it in the car the same way you use it in the phone, the same way you use it at home. You even probably want continuity between the piece of music you were listening before you left your home. As you jump into the car, you want this same piece of music to continue playing for you. So this integration is more and more seamless, and you want that to be completely seamless, irrespective of the device. So the whole thing is, how do you abstract the device and just focus on what the experience is? And then you can be sitting in your living room and say, okay, I want to go to that specific address in the Fifth Avenue in New York, to your Alexa Echo. That gets interpreted as I need to put it in the navigation system of the car. You get on your car, the navigation system is already set up. Again, your music is following you. Maybe the car, as you walk away from the home, will turn on the alarm and surveillance and lower the temperature. So all this, you want this to be completely seamless. So it's not a device game anymore. It's an experience game that we're after.
That's impressive. So science fiction comes to life more and more every day, it seems, and I think that's a great thing. So a couple years ago, you were the star of a software day presentation, and at that time we laid out pretty much three pillars of what's going on in the electrical architecture side of Stellantis, which we call ABC, which is Stella Auto Drive, Stella Brain, and Stella Smart Cockpit. But as we're doing this, and in a couple of years I've become doing it, is that the right order? I mean, I know why we say it that way, but shouldn't it really be more like BCA, that the Stella Brain should come first, followed by the Smart Cockpit, and then the Auto Drive?
Yeah, you're absolutely right that Stella Brain, as the software and electronic architecture of the vehicle, is the foundation. We call it ABC probably because it sounds nicer from a pure buzzword standpoint, but also because we're going to be capable of launching both the A platform, the Auto Drive platform, and the Cockpit platform on some of the existing architecture of Stellantis. And so we're going to have a little bit of backward compatibility, if you will, with A and C. So we don't wait for a Brain to be deployed everywhere in the world on each and every vehicle to be able to launch with a few cars the Auto Drive solution and the Cockpit solution. So Auto Drive will actually debut in commercial production next year in 2024, while Brain and Cockpit will go through what we call their tech SOP, which is complete technology readiness before the end of 2024, and then will be commercially launched early 2025. So you see, we're not waiting for Brain to move and offer a new experience to our customers.
So we're working on all three at the same time, it sounds, and it sounds like we're making really good progress. Are you happy with the progress?
I'm very excited with what I see, and we wanted to have one drivable vehicle with a minimum viable product of the technology by the end of 23. And I can tell you that this is already the case in the case of cockpit. This is already the Gen 3 of such vehicle in the case of AutoDrive that I will be test driving in Detroit pretty soon, actually. And this is going to be true for Brain as well. The teams are very excited to get prepared for the first drivable Brain vehicle within a couple of months from now. So we're very, very excited with the progress the teams all around the world are making on ABCs.
In previous conversations and in previous presentations, not only you, but and others within Stellantis, but definitely you, have talked multiple times about how we need as Stellantis to act more like a startup or to be more disruptive. And while I think I have a sense of what you mean by that, what do you look for when you're trying to say, hey, are we acting like a startup? Are we being disruptive? And then I guess the other question is, we're a global company. Most startups I know of are pretty small companies, and I'm not sure how you can translate those two.
Yeah, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. I think startups might start with the mindset and the spirit. So the very first thing with startup is you care for your vision and you want to implement the vision. And you're not like, okay, I will compromise with the vision because the world is like this. You're clear on the vision and you change the world to make your vision implemented. And I think that's what we're doing at SWX. When we started back in 2021, we were a handful of people. Today, we have exceeded 6,000 people as a team, and that has happened in less than 3 years, which is, when you look back, an incredible journey, and the amount of things we have created and delivered with that journey is just as amazing as the journey itself. And I think, not everybody would have bet in 2021, in January 2021, when the creation of the software group was announced, that this would play out this way. So that's the startup mindset. The startup mindset is we have a clear vision, ABC, we want to be customer driven, we want to grow our business up to 20 billion by 2030, and we are going to make it happen, whatever it takes to make it happen, because that's our collective goal, and we want to do it as a team. So that's where it starts. It starts by an absolute dedication to implementing the vision. Then the second thing is speed. Speed is difficult topic because, to your point, moving at the speed of a small startup, a large group of people like Stellantis is always very challenging. You need to convince people, you need to align people, you need to help people overtake all the sorts and remove all the sorts of impediments along the way. But that's half of the work, right? Half of the work is implementing the vision, half of the work is taking the broader Stellantis with us on the journey. And I'm actually amazed by the amount of support we're getting from my colleagues in the executive committee. I think everybody wants to see software successful because it's so important for the future of Stellantis. So yes, there are many impediments. Yes, there are many things that need to change, but everybody wants to bring their own piece to the puzzle and make it work. And so that's really, really exciting. And then the third thing is, you need to build the capabilities, because we have been going into, I would say, uncharted territories for us. Stellantis software was mostly outsourced. We were buying software. Now we're developing software. And so we needed to create the capabilities to do that. And there, of course, hiring people who come from the tech industry, not from car makers. More than 70% of the people we have hired don't come from car makers. Some of them come from tier ones, but most of them actually come from completely different industry. Gaming is an interesting one. Tech industries, devices, very, very different industries to create those capabilities for Stellantis. And then, of course, all the partnerships we have created with Amazon, with Qualcomm, with Foxconn are also instrumental in that transformation journey. So you see, startup is a question of mindset, speed, and scaling up the capabilities. And that's what I'm looking for when I'm challenging myself on how we executing like a startup.
Interesting to hear that so many people are joining Stellantis from outside the traditional automotive industry. Speaking of startups, we acquired a company, AI Motive, specifically for their ADAS experience. But while we acquired it, we basically let it operate as a separate company. Do you think has that been a good strategy? Is that paying benefits?
That's bringing huge benefits to Stellantis, because I think AI Motive scores very high on my three dimension that I just mentioned. Right, they have a clear vision of what should be the autonomous driving of the future up to the level 3. They have an incredible speed versus Stellantis. I can tell you that I have been sharing a few thoughts on okay, what do we want to do? How do we want to improve the current software stack of AI Motive with the AI Motive team back in spring this year, and in September. I got a call from Laszlo, the CEO of AI Motive, telling me, "Hey, if we implemented all the changes you have asked that we implement, why don't you come and test drive a car?" And he was sending me a video of the updated car, and I was amazed by what AI Motive could do in 6 months. So the speed at AI Motive is completely incredible versus what a car maker the size and the scale of Stellantis is capable of doing so far. And third, they have great capabilities. So combining the three makes AI Motive an incredible asset for Stellantis.
I think it's ironic that the unit of Stellantis that is working to create an autonomous driving technology asks you to come test drive the car. What do they want you to do? Sit in the back seat?
When you test drive an autonomous car, you can look at the car. I would say you look at the car driving, right? So that's interesting. That's an interesting experience. You don't touch the steering wheel too much, hopefully. But that's exciting. Yeah, testing autonomous car is a kind of strange sentence, I have to admit.
It's all right. It's part of the fun. But there is an awful lot of effort and work and attention being paid to ADAS and autonomous driving these days. What do you see as probably the biggest challenges in this space right at the moment?
I think the biggest challenge is to find the right balance between how much content you're going to put in the car that is going to create customer value versus the total cost that you have to pay. So you can make a very, very autonomous car, but it's going to be very, very expensive, and I'm not sure many people will actually enjoy it. So the challenge of, let's call it affordable autonomy deployed at a large scale is the biggest challenge. Where do you find the right balance between the completely autonomous vehicle versus let's call it a level 2 plus type of vehicle, and what do you need to put in the car to maximize the value you create for the customer for the cost you actually load the vehicle with. That for me is the biggest challenge at the moment, much more than the technology itself.
Interesting. Well, from a personal standpoint, Yves, I have to tell you, there are still some of us out there who enjoy the process of driving. So as you and your team work hard on autonomous driving technology, leave a little bit something for me to do.
Absolutely, and that's why the customer segmentation is so critical, and that's why again, finding what adds value versus annoying people is so fundamental. Autonomous driving car can annoy people very quickly because they go with all sorts of notification, be careful, check this, check that, and people get annoyed. And so you want to strike the right balance so people enjoy, they have, they find free time in the vehicle, they find some peace of mind, of course, improve safety versus human driving, but in a way that is not annoying, and at a cost that's affordable for a large number of vehicles. This is the biggest challenge, no doubt.
One other question: software. How important to you do you think is software going to be in terms of enhancing, maximizing the safety of our owners and customers, for people in vehicles?
Today we have evidence that we can create a software stack which drives with far better safety than, I would say, the average human. So this is already there, not necessarily in each and every circumstance of the driving, and of course also with sometimes some limitation of slowness that can also be annoying. But yes, we have evidence that we can create autonomous driving software stack that drives safer than humans. That's already available.
Well, Yves, you've been really generous with your time today, and I appreciate that. But before we close out, I just want you to gaze into your crystal ball for me, if you don't mind. Say we get back together here in a year or so to talk about this whole subject again. Where do you think we'll be in 18 to 24 months in terms of software defined vehicles and all this fun stuff?
Well, we will have our ABC technology platform in the hands of our customers, and that's going to be really exciting to see what feedback they give us. And it's going to be very exciting for us to, I would say, continue to build the future by understanding this feedback and continuously improving what we do. The journey on which we are is a journey where we want to upgrade our vehicle every 3 months, leveraging customer feedback, leveraging technology that we create. And so we will be right in the middle of that in 18 months from now, and that's going to make it even more exciting. Just seeing the baby in the hands of the customers and getting the feedback and continuing to make things always more exciting and create more value for the customers. That's what we care for.
Excellent. Yves Bonnefont, the Chief Software Officer for Stellantis. This has been a great conversation. I really enjoy it. I look forward to everything that you can make the vehicle do for me in the future, including letting me still enjoy the drive. And that's been an episode of Stella Tech, the podcast devoted to navigating the future of cars and technology. I've been your host, Dale Jewett, and I look forward to you joining us in the future when we'll talk some more technology. And coming up in a future episode, we have Maria Uvarova, who happens to be the head of our software product management, for an episode we've titled Building a Car While Driving It. I'll let you chew on that for a little while. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again soon.